They told you life would be hard. They didn't tell you it would feel like exile. They didn't tell you that some souls arrive in this world not as guests, but as intruders, forces of disruption, born different, born with weight in their bones. Most people think difference is glamour. They think it's power. They think it's a crown waiting on your head the moment you open your eyes. But the truth is brutal. Being born different is not a gift. It's a burden dressed like prophecy. From your first breath, the world doesn't welcome you. It judges you. It presses its silent expectations against your skin until you feel them like chains. You're not greeted with softness. You're greeted with weight. With a cold quiet no one explains. They don't tell you this is how a king's soul begins, not in glory, but in isolation. Not in applause, but in silence. They see something in your eyes, a voltage they can't name. And instead of honoring it, they fear it. Instead of lifting you, they test you. Instead of nurturing you, they mark you. You're handed the unspoken rule, lead or die under the pressure. While others are being taught comfort, you're being taught storms. While others are protected, you're thrown into fire. And the only way out is through pain, betrayal, and the kind of evolution so violent your former self would never recognize you. Others beg for approval. You were born to walk alone. Every room you step into, your presence unsettles the weak. Your silence makes the loud uncomfortable. Your intensity exposes their softness, and you didn't choose any of it. It chose you. That's what a king's soul does. It divides. It separates. It marks you not for celebration, but for war. They think you're arrogant, but you're just focused. They call you cold, but you've seen too much to smile like they do. You don't belong in their circles. You don't belong in their small talk. You don't belong in their lives, because you weren't born to be liked. You were born to carry kingdoms on bones built from pain. The deeper your power grows, the quieter your world becomes. That's the rule no one talks about. The king's soul isn't loud. It's not social. It doesn't beg for company. It devours solitude because nothing else can hold it. You start to notice the shift. People laugh less around you. They shrink in your presence. They stop asking questions. Not because you're cruel, but because your energy makes their weakness unbearable. It's not cruelty. It's clarity. You didn't choose this. But once the soul rises, everything else must fall away. Friendships fade. Family stops understanding. Love becomes a battlefield. Not because you broke it, but because no one's ready to walk next to a man who carries this kind of gravity. They say you've changed. Number. You're just walking farther than they were ever willing to. And distance is the tax of forward motion. The king's soul doesn't belong in crowds. It was made to sit in the center of storms and not flinch. That kind of presence is heavy. You'll sit at tables and feel disconnected. You'll look at your surroundings and feel like you outgrew them years ago. And it hurts. But pain doesn't stop you anymore. Pain confirms you're still becoming. Power isolates. Strength separates. And the soul of a king is forged in rooms so quiet you can hear the weight of your own breath. That silence isn't punishment. It's your palace, the place where your thoughts turn into weapons, where your values harden into laws, where your purpose becomes command. Don't fill the silence. Don't run back to noise. Don't explain your distance. Because the man born with a king's soul must first learn to rule himself before he's worthy of ruling anything beyond himself. A king is not calm. He is composed. There's a difference. Calm is soft. Composed is controlled violence. And deep inside every man with a king's soul is a rage no one sees until it's time to burn everything down. You didn't choose this anger. It came with the birthright, a lifetime of silence, of being misunderstood, of being underestimated, of being expected to carry everything and complain about nothing. It piles up. Pressure, pain, weight, until it no longer crushes you. It builds you. That rage becomes your foundation. Not the kind that explodes. Not the kind that cries for attention. The kind that moves like a blade in the dark. No warning. No sympathy. You start working in ways they don't understand. You suffer in ways they couldn't survive. You create without asking for feedback. And you destroy anything that dares to slow you down. You don't yell. You deliver. You don't threaten. You execute. Because the rage in a man born to rule isn't loud. It's deadly. It doesn't show up on the surface. It buries itself in discipline, in sleepless nights, in 10,000 decisions no one applauds. And when they ask, why do you work like this? Why do you train like this? Why are you so cold? You don't answer. Because the soul of a king doesn't explain fire to people still scared of heat. You're not angry at the world. You're just done playing by its rules. You've watched enough weakness. You've heard enough excuses. You've been patient with people who never deserved your time. Now you build. You rule. You strike. And you take everything the boy version of you was too soft to claim. This rage isn't your enemy. It's your architect. The throne isn't carved by calm hands. It's shaped in war. And you are the war. There comes a moment in every man's life when he looks around and finally understands. No one is coming. No one's going to save him. No one's going to help him carry it. No one's going to rescue the crown from the mud. And in that moment, the king is born. Not by blood, not by blessing, but by decision. A decision made in pure cold isolation when every voice disappears, when every hand vanishes, when every hope of help is gone. And you're left standing in a burning kingdom with nothing but your fists and your rage. Most men crumble there. They beg. They plead. They make deals with weakness. But not you. Because a king doesn't ask for mercy. He becomes the judge. You didn't come from peace. You crawled out of war. Betrayed. Abandoned. Ignored. Still, you rise. Not because you were chosen, but because you were willing to bleed for a life everyone else gave up on. You didn't wait. You didn't wish. You didn't weep. You ruled. The law of kings is brutal. No one owes you anything. No one's obligated to understand you. And no one is responsible for your survival. You carry your weight. You bury your debt. You sharpen your will on rejection, on failure, on hunger. And you walk alone until others are forced to follow. not out of loyalty, but out of fear. Because real kings don't lead with charm. They lead with consequence. They don't beg for followers. They move forward until footsteps form behind them. And when they speak, it's not to be liked. It's to issue orders that reshape reality. You think someone is coming to show you how to lead. You think there's a book, a teacher, a mentor holding the map to your crown. Forget it. If you want the throne, you carve it out of the bones of every weakness you've ever fed. This is your law now. This is your burden. This is your right. Stand on it, or stay buried beneath it. Because this throne wasn't handed down. It wasn't inherited. It wasn't granted through favor, blessing, or bloodline. It was carved from agony, shaped in isolation, forged in hell, and sealed with every ounce of pain the world swore would break you. But it didn't. Because kings aren't crowned by applause. They are born in silence and built through scars. They counted you out. They ignored your grind. They laughed at your silence. And now they don't laugh anymore. They whisper. Because what you've become isn't human to them. You don't cry. You don't flinch. You don't crack. You absorb the hits. You welcome the weight. You rule in pain like most men drown in it. Every scar a lesson. Every betrayal a boundary. Every failure a new weapon. This isn't just a soul. It's a fortress. One built in nights they never saw, mornings they slept through, battles they never knew you fought. And now you sit alone. Not because you chose to, but because no one else could survive the climb. They think the throne is gold. They think it's glory. It's not. It's bone. It's blood. It's the remains of the boy you buried and the weight of every standard you never dropped. You didn't rise by chance. You didn't become this by dreaming. You became it by burning. And when you sit on the throne, you sit in silence. Not because you have nothing to say, but because there's no one left to speak to. This isn't power. It's discipline weaponized. It's rage tamed. It's the final form of a man who suffered so long pain became peace. And from that peace, he built the kingdom. So wear the crown with no pride, with no joy, just stillness. Because the man with the king's soul doesn't celebrate. He watches, he protects, he enforces. And when the world forgets what it took to build the throne, he reminds them without ever speaking a word. The king is not made. The king is revealed in silence, in blood, in the shadow of everything that tried to kill him. The shift from survival to rule. There is a point beyond pain where men either break or transform. Most break. The rest become architects of their own legend. You have entered that point. It's not about surviving anymore. It's about shaping. It's about ruling. The storms no longer scare you. They orbit you. They announce you. This is the true test of a king's soul. Not how he survives chaos, but how he uses it as clay. How he bends the chaos to his will. How he turns pain into command. Pain was your prison. Then it became your gym. Now it's your forge. Every moment of isolation sharpened you. Every betrayal calcified you. Every defeat hammered you into form. You are no longer reacting to life. Life reacts to you. This is the hidden layer no one sees. The quiet decisions at 3 a.m. The small disciplines repeated until they scar your character. The thousands of sacrifices that look like nothing to outsiders, but are everything to your rise. That's why the crowd fades. That's why the noise dies. That's why the room empties. Because a king's soul does not tolerate the average. It cannot be diluted by the common. It cannot coexist with the soft. Discipline as a weapon. Discipline is not just routine. It's war strategy. It's silent aggression. It's the rage, channeled, sculpted, aimed. Most men let rage destroy them. You learn to let rage build you. Every hour you train, every time you say no, every time you choose solitude over distraction, you're hammering your crown. Discipline becomes your armor. Focus becomes your blade. Solitude becomes your throne room. And when the time comes to strike, you don't hesitate. You don't announce. You don't explain. You move. Silent. Precise. Deadly. This is why people misread you. They call you cold. They call you ruthless. They call you obsessed. They don't see the years of silence that shaped you. They don't understand the price you paid for that level of focus. But kings don't defend their legend, they live it. Legacy, not applause. A king's soul doesn't build for applause, it builds for permanence. The world will forget your name long before it forgets your impact. The throne isn't the end, it's the launching pad. It's the platform from which you reshape reality. You didn't suffer to be admired. You suffered to be effective. You didn't build discipline to get likes. You built discipline to create consequences. Legacy isn't built in crowds. It's built in lonely rooms at ungodly hours, in choices no one applauds. And when it's finished, it looks inevitable to everyone else. They call you lucky. They call you chosen. But you know better. It wasn't destiny. It was blood. It was decision. It was a refusal to break. This is the truth they don't want to hear. Pain will never stop. Isolation will never stop. The world's doubt will never stop. You don't outgrow the fire. You become fire. And once you do, there's no going back to normal. There's no shrinking to fit. There's no pretending you're like them. You become the storm. You become the standard. You become the consequence. That is the final form of a king's soul. Not loud, not desperate, but heavy. A gravity that warps the space around it. A force that reshapes everything it touches. Your throne, your law. Now you understand. No one is coming. No one will hand you the crown. No one will validate your pain. This is your throne. This is your law. Stand on it or stay buried beneath it. This throne wasn't gifted. It wasn't inherited. It was carved in agony, shaped in silence, forged in betrayal, and sealed with your own blood. You weren't supposed to make it here. They counted you out. They ignored your grind. They laughed at your silence. And now they whisper, because the man they mocked has become the man they fear. The boy they dismissed has become the king they cannot approach. You didn't rise by chance. You rose by burning everything in you that wasn't built for war. Wear the crown with no pride, with no joy, with stillness. Because the man with a king's soul doesn't celebrate. He watches, he protects, he enforces. And when the world forgets what it took to build the throne, he reminds them without ever speaking a word. The king is not made. The king is revealed in silence.